When it first happened, she was brought to a local hospital. At this local hospital, they did a CT scan and told me that it was just a concussion and it's in her home. So we really didn't know that there was something wrong with her. The next morning, she woke up and could no longer walk. Didn't know where she lived. She didn't know her brother and sister from my husband's first marriage. She didn't know her grandparents. She knew 5 kids in her class out of 30, and probably about 30 kids in the whole school. She didn't know how to count. I physically sat at my kitchen counter and went 1 apple plus 1 apple. And when I went to try to do subtraction, she would tell me her brain was hot and she had to stop and would start crying. Her foot, this one stood like this and this one was on its side, and she would chop. It was scary. It was, would she ever get it back? Well, I guess is the first thing that went through my mind is, would she come out of this and fully recover? She lost her memory. She couldn't count. She couldn't walk. That was scary.
The hospital we was at didn't give us, the first hospital we went to wasn't, it wasn't that encouraging. They wouldn't give you, they wouldn't tell you negative, but they wouldn't give you positive either. So we were stuck in the middle, just on hope and prayer and belief. Devastating.
Scary. Definitely, I would say it's probably one of the hardest things you could ever do and deal with is, I'm a mom and I fix it, and this time I couldn't fix it.
At this point, we would go to her bed and laugh and joke. She was in a good spirit, and it was all fun and games, because you didn't want to show her you was hurting. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Just be there for your kids. Encourage them. We pushed her. I think we probably didn't cut her slack. We knew she could do this, and we knew the potential she had, and we pushed her probably a little bit more than sometimes I think we should. We didn't let her give up.
New Star Pipeline. They're real big with United Way, and there's some mandatory deal that all employees do volunteer hours of some kind. And when she came to us that night and said she wanted to do something, she didn't know what, and it took a little while for a charity to come into play, and then it took a little while to come up with a name, and when we finally did, I contacted them and asked them if they would be interested in helping sponsor Maddies Gifts of Hope, and told them they supported us big time throughout the time in the hospital. They knew the CO of the company would call and check on her. When we left Alexandria, we needed to go to Children's Hospital in New Orleans for rehab. They really thought they could work with her. At this point, she couldn't walk at all. And we couldn't even get an ambulance to bring her. And I called my company. They were calling to check on her, and New Star said, hold up, we're gonna get with the insurance company and we're gonna get y'all an ambulance. And before the end of the day, they told us the next day we'd be moving, and we moved that night, that afternoon late. And so they was there supporting us the whole way. And whenever I confronted them and asked them told them about the charity and what we were trying to do, they took it and ran with it. And that's what got the ball rolling with Maddies Gifts of Hope. That was, because of them, we was able to make, and other local donations and stuff, we was able to make our first trip back to Children's. They took it a step further than that. When we was going over there, they told us we'd be there for maybe up to several weeks. So I called them, being we're such a big company, we have a travel department. I thought maybe they could have got me a hotel at a cheaper rate because I wasn't coming home. We were both gone, and the rooms over there at Children's are only made for the patient and maybe one parent. So I called them and asked them for help if we could. They called me back, the CEO called me back and said, Scott, we can't do that, but we have something else. There's another program set in place that they allocate so much money a year and they put in there to help their employees. He said, I'm gonna send you a form. I want you to fill it out, and it's gonna ask you a bunch of questions. Fill it out and send it back to me ASAP. And he sent it to me. I filled it out and sent it back to him. That same day, he called me and said, I rejected your request. I had asked for $500 to help for hotels and stuff. He rejected it and said, no, sir. He said, as we speak, he said, I have the ability to give an employee up to $2,500 per week without him going in front of a board. He said, as we speak, $2,500 is being put in your account. Don't pay it back. It's yours. It's for your family. Next week, if you need more, let me know. He said also, when you get to New Orleans, not just down the road, is the Ronald McDonald House. He said, we're going to help you set up over there so you can go there and not to a hotel. When we got there, they had paid them several hundred, $400 or $500 they gave to the Ronald McDonald House for us to go over there. So they helped out in a lot of ways.
My dad's work is amazing. Even whenever I'm in the hospital currently, like for seizures or whatever I'm going through, all of his workers check on me. They will come to the house when I'm at home. They're always there for us, making sure that I'm okay, making sure that they're taken care of. If mom and dad both have to stay.
From all the pain.
It hasn't been easy. Starting off after my accident, there's a lot of things that I went through and I saw in our sessions in therapy and the people that I met that my parents didn't have a chance to, and I wasn't sure of how to deal with that. For 2 years, I shut them out because I was scared to talk about how I felt and the things that I seen and the people that I met. And throughout all of it, I forgot how they felt. They're my parents. They had to see me the day before the accident, know everything, have a daily routine. There's nothing to worry about. And then a couple hours later, I have to look at them and not know where I live. I know one sibling out of 3. Have to look at my family or have little cousins who walk in and look at my aunt and say, Mama, why doesn't Mother remember me? And them just try and pull themselves together and say, it's okay. She's just hurt right now. And at the time, I don't know what's going on in my family's mind. And to me, I'm waking up and it's just a normal day. This is who I am. I don't know who I was before. I don't know what the things I liked. I don't know who to trust and who not to trust. I didn't know anything. So to me, waking up in a hospital, I was just injured. I couldn't walk, and that's my life. I thought that was normal for me. And then I didn't know how my family felt. They can even tell you they hid all their emotions from me as much as possible because they didn't want me to struggle with it. They wanted me to grow and motivate me to keep going. And it wasn't until afterwards I sit down and I talk to my parents, and I couldn't be in their shoes.
Maddie had shut down on us. For about 2 years, we had a lot of physical therapy and different therapy she had to go to. And she went to Steubenville, which is a Catholic retreat in Alexandria. And she went on a service crew team. And they go all week long. And they have a little retreat kind of for them during the week. And she called me and said she was going to give a talk. And I'm like, on what? Because she was tired of being that kid. Everybody knew her as the brain injury kid. And she said, oh, my brain injury, Mom. And I went into panic mode. I called everybody there and said, tell me if she says anything. Is there anything I need to worry about? And when she went into this retreat and came home, she sat down and she said, Mom, all I talked about was these kids in this hospital. It bothered her that my family drove 4 hours to see her and they didn't even recognize them, but there were kids there left with no parents at Thanksgiving. We watched.
We started off with kind of just storing it around the house as much as we could. And we have a separate dining room in our house, and we kind of just put boxes on top of the table. And as it began to grow and toys were coming in, they had a toy drive through Daddy's work, and they had sent us a big box of toys, and I'm like, what are we going to do with this? So as a result, the dining room table got kicked out into the outdoor kitchen, and I completely took over the dining room. And there's shelves in there. I think we have 4 or 5 shelves, boxes, big tote boxes everywhere. Everything's labeled, and eventually we're going to need a bigger room.
So for the growth, as a parent, you always want to be a step ahead, and to see her light up whenever we get ready to start packing up to go to these hospitals to reach out to these children. You putting the word out there, and she wants a charity to grow. And to grow, we got to have more room. Our dining room is just getting crammed, so we are looking at different alternatives of maybe a building, another building, a rental building or some sort.